The Shark Deck.
I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Cracked, caught up with Kristin Schaal. I am always fond of Kristin. I got to know her when she won the Kaufman Award back in 2005. I just looked this up. And candidly, we drank till 5 a.m. at the New York City Comedy Fest. I don't know what it was, industry event. I don't know. There was an open bar and we sat there all night and we had a great time. And she was not yet known then. And, just enjoyed hanging out with her. And then we had her up at SiriusXM many times. So always fond of Kristin. And I'm thinking back 2005. Geez, I was 35 then. It's been a minute. Cracked ass Kristin. Hey, it's mid-June. If there wasn't a writer strike going on right now, what would you be doing? And Kristin is an eternal prankster, and she said, I guess recording Bob's Burgers? Now, if you're a new listener, 2 questions. 1, have you ever actually seen Bob's Burgers? The answer is you haven't. You think you've seen it because you've seen artwork. There's clearly artwork. You've seen merch. There's clearly merch. But you've ever actually seen the show on Fox? I know Joe Buck would talk about it during football. You've never actually seen it. And here's another question for you. Have you ever met anyone who has seen Bob's Burgers? You haven't. Now that's really weird, right? Like it might be one thing that you don't watch a show, but nobody has ever seen this show. But, there's this whole industry thing that there's a show called Bob's Burgers and all the cool people in LA pretend it exists. So Kristin said, I guess recording Bob's Burgers, but June's always been pretty chill for me. I'm really grateful. I feel for anybody in the middle of a show right now that they have to make the tough choice of what to do when the rules are a little bit gray for certain unions. I think I know what I would do, but I'm also such a team player that it's really tough. I'm a team player for everybody. I want to make everybody happy. My parents just this morning were like, how's the strike? I'm just proud to live in a country and be in an industry where we have all these unions to get benefits from the work we do. It's not the case in a lot of different places. So kudos, America. Cracked asked her if she'd like to take over for Pat Sajak on Wheel of Fortune. She was on the Celebrity Edition. Would she consider taking that gig? Kristin said, I never thought of that. There was one person who tweeted, she was so good on it, because they aired my episode last night. And then one person said, she's the most annoying thing I've ever seen. I think I might be a bit polarizing to the loyal legions of Fortune fans, but sure, I'll tell my agent. Whenever a late night show host steps down, I'm always like, I'm free. And they're like, absolutely. And then radio silence. Salon had a good interview with Tom Papa, and Tom said, I started to get tired of the narrative that we're all apart and we're at each other's throats. I don't find that when I'm traveling around. I think people, for the most part, are just trying to get along. I don't like cynicism. I like hope. I wanted to convey what I saw, which wasn't even politically, that we're not at each other's throats. Just as human beings, we all really need each other all the time. I don't succeed on my side of the street if you fail across the street. All it took was going through CVS one day. I saw all these things that are wrong with people and all these solutions that are waiting. You're going to have to go down every one of those aisles eventually. Now I'm buying something for a rash, and there's that weird section. There's medical equipment for bigger toilets and handles, and it's like, I'm not dealing with that today, but eventually I'm going to want one of those. You have to cut yourself some slack. We're all working very hard. We're all doing the best we can, and you start to feel like you're not doing enough, or you're falling, or that you're a mess, and that other people are succeeding much more than you. They're not. Nobody is. Everybody's dealing with stuff. Everybody's a mess. The most idyllic people that you see on social media think their lives are buttoned down. They're not. They also have to deal with problems. Salon also spoke with Roy Wood Jr., and he said The Daily Show probably best represents my approach to stand-up, which is to find the alternate viewpoint on the issue. The Daily Show is a left-leaning show, but my comedy is more centrist. It's cool within The Daily Show to be able to find the pieces that are a little bit more on the middle of the road, but my stand-up is probably way more centrist than what's on The Daily Show. I learned a lot in my approach to comedy, my approach to stand-up, from working with Trevor Noah. Just how Trevor chose to break down divisive issues, it gave me a little bit of the same feeling that I could do that with my stand-up. I don't know what's going to happen with the strike. When the strike ends, if they bring back The Daily Show, am I a host? Am I assisting whoever they hired as a host? Am I gone somewhere else to host my own thing? I don't know. I do know that everything up until now represents for me, from a career standpoint, it's that Tom Brady New England run. Now it's time to go to Tampa and see if I can keep the winning ways going. The LA Times spoke with Anthony Carrigan. You know him as NoHo Hank on Barry. And he said, the biggest misconception is that I'm a Chechen mobster. Truly, people are baffled as soon as I start speaking in my normal voice. They look at me and they're like, you're not Russian? You're not Chechen? They're mildly disappointed to learn that I'm from Massachusetts. So they're like, okay, do the voice. And I always do it because I'm a people pleaser. That's something I have in common with NoHo Hank. But I'm not a criminal. I do not run a criminal enterprise. Just saying it now, no family ties.
Lyle Hall, a cantankerous real estate attorney, has lost the ability to walk after a deadly car crash. But he has also gained something, the ability to read people's thoughts. And not just the living. When a girl's voice calls to him from inside the abandoned Old Vic, Lyle is given hope of regaining the use of his legs. but it quickly turns to fear. This ghostly girl says Lyle's daughter, a rookie detective, will die in 4 days. Can he save her? Find out on the first season of Ghosthampton, a comedy horror podcast.
Rob McElhenney's out promoting a new season of Welcome to Wrexham. By the way, the new season of It's Always Sunny is on point, return to form. Not that the last season was bad, but this really feels like classic Sunny if you haven't been watching it. New episode tonight. Anyway, Rob talked about behind the scenes at Welcome to Wrexham and said it was definitely a war of attrition with Ryan Reynolds, who was very clearly uncomfortable from the very beginning. I treated it with as much respect as I could, bringing cameras to speak with everybody else. People assume that because we're used to having cameras around us that we're comfortable having them document our private lives, and nothing could be further from the truth. It puts you in a very vulnerable position because there's nowhere to hide and all that people see is you. What you see on the show is Ryan. What you see is me, and what you see is that town. Although I recognize that I'm coming at it from a different perspective as an executive producer, because even though being on camera might be somewhat vulnerable for me, I'm in a certain position of power when I'm looking at the footage coming in, because I can dictate what goes into the show and what doesn't. Friday asked Rob how they changed their approach to the season after they knew that Wrexham did not get promoted in season 1. Rob said it was devastating. We had 2 or 3 episodes already done and edited. We had all these high hopes that there was going to be a happy ending, and we had to sit down and make the rest of the series knowing it was going to have a tragic end and figure out how to approach it. But I remember having a conversation with Ryan saying, we knew that we had a second season already picked up, and we knew we were going to start filming again in a few months. As a chairman, it's terrible, but as a storyteller, it's really not that bad. I mean, Rocky didn't win at the end of the first Rocky, because the point wasn't that he beat Apollo Creed. It was that he proved himself that he mattered and he could keep getting up. So we knew there was an ending to the story that could be profound, but it definitely sets up an expectation for season 2, because there really is no Rocky 2, where Rocky loses to Apollo again. JFL Montreal has announced Trey Kennedy will be playing Club Soda on July 29th. They write, Trey Kennedy is a born and raised Oklahoman who never expected to enter the entertainment industry. While attending college, he found fame on Vine. Remember Vine? I remember being in Australia, walking across the Anzac Bridge, and my son recognizing some dude and being like, he's like famous on Vine. I was like, what? I'm so old. Trey Kennedy was a top creator on the app for more than 3 years, and through this experience, discovered a passion for entertainment. Now he's on Instagram and TikTok, has a combined 12+ million followers, says the old guy recording a podcast in his basement. His self-produced comedy special, Are You For Real?, can now be streamed on YouTube. Trey Kennedy, JFL Club Soda, which is a really cool club up in Montreal, July 29th. I had to bounce this yesterday because there's so much going on with the Rogan stuff. Over the weekend, it was the Johnny Carson Comedy Festival. Northeast News Channel Nebraska spoke to magician Eric Buss, who said, I grew up watching Johnny Carson long before I got any of the jokes, but when he had a magician on, I was allowed to stay up late and watch just because my dad's laughter watching him. I could understand that this guy was pretty funny, so being here is pretty amazing, and seeing the magic put forward here in this town, it's not forgotten that he was a magician first. It's really cool to see. The entertainers were shown documentary footage displaying Johnny Carson revisiting his hometown. They got to play basketball in the driveway of Carson's former home. Headliner Vicki Lawrence was presented the festival's Comedy Legend Award. William Shatner was on with Dana Carvey and David Spade on their podcast, and Shatner said the best comedy is played absolutely real. If you can be ultra serious, there's a comedic cloud, just a little mist of comedy, so the audience knows it's funny but doesn't know it's funny. There's a bounce there that you superb comedians know exactly what I mean. There's a hint that the actor is in on the comedy, but it's absolutely real. They talked about William Shatner hosting SNL back in 1986. That's with the famous Get a Life sketch and also the Restaurant Enterprise. A young Dana Carvey admired how loose William Shatner was and asked him how he could be so relaxed. Shatner back then said, how else would you do this? We're under-rehearsed. We don't know where we're going. Shatner said, it's a live show and there are 90 minutes of material to memorize, but you don't need to remember the words because they're all in front of you on cue cards. You're not going to forget. And in the course of putting together a story that I'm going to use over the weekend, I found this from Late Night with David Letterman. A young Todd Barry was part of viewer mail. Let's listen.
From someone named Todd Raz. I'm guessing that's just a nickname. His last name is Barry, from Tamarack, Florida. Here's the situation. I do an unbelievable impression of Paul Shaffer. Here are the options. A, fly me to New York, pay for everything, and I'll do the impression on your show. Yeah, right. Or call me, and I'll do it over the phone. So go ahead, Dave, pick either A or B. Either way, I'm sure it will turn out to be a real nifty gig. Gee... It was a tough choice, Todd, but I've selected option B. Let's call this... We're calling somewhere in Florida.
Hello?
Well, hello, Todd. How are you? Is this Todd?
Yes, Todd.
My name is David Letterman. I'm calling from New York City. How are you, sir?
I'm all right.
Where are you now, Todd?
I'm in Florida.
Uh-huh.
Hello?
Sounds just like Paul, doesn't it? I noticed, Todd, the phone didn't ring, and you just picked it up. Did it ring there?
Yeah, that's the way that thing works.
Gee, Todd, I'd love to go on talking with you, but I understand you do an impression of Mr. Paul Shaffer.
Oh, it's unreal, Dave.
Okay.
Yeah, Dave. Yeah, Dave. It's unreal, Dave. I mean, it's cuckoo groovy, Dave. I mean, I'm peaking right now, Dave.
That's...
I mean, is it nutty in here, or is it just me, Dave? Back to you, Dave.
Okay, thank you very much. It was very nice, Todd. Thank you. Gee, now I wish we'd flown the kid in here, huh?
Absolutely amazing. I miss 12:30 Dave, and that is your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I'm 10 million followers behind some of these people on TikTok, so smash that like button and all the other stuff. Whatever. See you tomorrow. Who doesn't like vacations? Do you need some inspiration for your next road trip? Are you excited to get out there and explore the world again? Hi, I'm Johnny Mac. My podcast is called Travel is Back. Travel is Back is travel for regular people. We hop in the car, we fly coach, we use our miles, we eat at normal places, we stay at normal places. So what I do is I hop in the car and I grab my portable recorder and I go somewhere. Season 3 kicks off with a road trip to Key West. You can check out the back catalog. There are popular episodes covering Chicago, Nashville, Vancouver, Seattle, a whole bunch more. Travel is Back, road trips for regular people. Follow the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your shows. These are quick, these are casual, and it's for regular people like you. Travel is Back.